It is time once again for the weekly wrap-up. These are stories that I collect throughout the week that I did not do a full video on, but I still want to touch on them here. So let me start with this. Tom Hanks. Yes, Tom Hanks. Exclusive: Biden's inaugural committee will mark the first anniversary in office by blanketing airwaves with a Tom Hanks narrated video promoting a recovering, resilient America. Now, you may be wondering, why am I even mentioning this? Well, once again, The Simpsons predicted this. So this was tweeted out by a lot of people, but here Caleb tweeting it out. You can't make this up. Here is Tom Hanks in The Simpsons saying, "Hello, I'm Tom Hanks. The U.S. government has lost its credibility, so it's borrowing some of mine." Unbelievable. This is amazing. And of course, if you don't know, but I'm sure you do, The Simpsons have predicted many things. Here are 17. I'll link to this below the video on YouTube. 17 times The Simpsons predicted the future. So you see some of the pictures here. Trump being president, coronavirus. So a couple examples. Some other ones, including the U.S. beating Sweden for an Olympic gold medal in curling. Like very specific things and random things, but it's wild how often this has happened. Anyways, next story here. Manchin, quote, "I just don't know how you break a rule to make a rule." This is about the filibuster. "The majority of my colleagues in the Democratic caucus, they've changed. They've changed their mind. I haven't. I've never changed my mind on the filibuster." Oh, really? This from the Washington Post, shared by Jordan Ewell. But Manchin and Sinema did vote in December to make an exception to the filibuster to raise the debt ceiling, prompting some of their liberal critics to ask, well, why not do it again for voting rights? No, when it comes to the debt ceiling, perfectly fine. They will do it. When it comes to saving democracy, no, can't do it. Unbelievable how crooked these people are. Next one, this brought a big smile to my face. Sinema's favorable rating among Arizona Democrats at a whopping 8%. 8%. Now, this is according to Civics, so this is one data point here. But I've shown you, if you search on my channel, Sinema poll, you will see poll after poll after poll after poll showing how poorly Sinema is doing in her state, not just with Democrats, but with everybody. She is, in her state, not popular. And compared to Mark Kelly, the other senator in Arizona, other Democrat, he's very popular. He supports, the Biden agenda, just the normal things. But Sinema, being a Republican, she's losing support, she is... The biggest issue here, honestly, is that this primary isn't till 2024. Like, she's still going to be sitting there for a while. Even though all the energy right now is against her, will that continue for the next few years to be able to actually mount a serious primary challenge against her? I guess remains to be seen. But it is just crazy to see how low her numbers have dropped. I mean, you could see they were above water, and then now at 8%. Other story here, other piece of information I want to share with you. This was shared by Harvey K. A very maybe eye-opening paragraph here. So he says here, in the wake of 2021 and the Democratic Party's failure to radically address the crisis of democracy, consider progressive Max Lerner's words in It Is Later Than You Think, The Need for a Militant Democracy in 1938. So right before World War II. Here is his piece, his quote. "When the history of our era comes to be written, if there are any survivors to write it, its tragedy may lie not in the men of destructive will whose souls were coils of wild serpents and who used the arena of history for their mortal embrace, but in the men of good will who willed the ends they sought and could not will the means to achieve them. The central tragedy of our age, in short, lies not alone in fascism. It lies even more in the liberalism which has thus far proved feckless to cope with social collapse and the fascism that follows it." Once again, it's not just about the fascists, not just about the Republicans, not just about Trump. It's also about the response or lack thereof to that. Liberalism has not worked to stop it. It has only made it worse. There has to be an actual fight against this increase, this move towards fascism. And the Democratic Party right now, as the major other power in the U.S., is not putting up that proper fight. So we'll see where, what happens in the future, but this clearly the way we're going right now, we are definitely repeating history in many ways. Next thing here. From Vice, QA testers at Activision Blizzard's Raven Software Studio are unionizing. So this is another push to unionize a game developer. I covered recently a few weeks ago when Vodio Games became the very first game developer to have a union. It was recognized voluntarily by management, so they did not fight it, they accepted it. And it was a company that, by the way, in Vodio Games already had fantastic benefits like 4-day work weeks. And still, workers there understood it's important to have your own voice, regardless of how great things are compared to other companies. Important to have your own voice, and they unionized. Management recognized it voluntarily. So here, I imagine it's not going to be voluntary. I think when it comes to Activision Blizzard, of course, you had Microsoft just begin the process of acquiring them or buying them out this week. So, whether it's Activision Blizzard in charge or Microsoft in charge, there's going to be a fight against this push for a union. But it's good to see that workers there have not backed down just because they may be owned by Microsoft. So even though Microsoft, I think, ultimately, assuming they do follow through and this purchase gets past regulators, even though I do think it's going to be a better company culture under Microsoft compared to under Bobby Kotick, regardless, workers need to have their own voice. In a massive company like Activision Blizzard, the workers should be able to have their own voice. Last thing here, just briefly mention this. It is so ridiculous. Laura Ingram retracts naive support for Iraq war. I finally saw the light, thank goodness. There is never any repercussions for people in the mainstream press for being wrong. Whether it's, the Iraq war, whether it's Joe Biden will be able to work with Republicans to get things done, whatever it is, there is never any repercussions. These people never lose their jobs. And ultimately, this is why. As long as they are serving power, as long as they are serving corporate interests, it does not matter if they are wrong, if it comes out 20 years later that they were wrong, because ultimately what they were doing at the time was serving corporate interests, serving powerful interests, in this case, defense contractors. So as long as they are serving that, they will never lose their job. But it's just incredible that anybody can try and take, these people seriously, listen to anything they're saying when again and again and again, they show you they have been on the wrong side of history.